Hello everybody, I am Jim Collins, umpire director for Homewood baseball and softball. Today we're going to be putting together a little video to help everybody understand the mechanics of umpiring, the ins and outs. We'll go over a few of the basic rules, things such as strike zones, foul balls, where you should be at certain times in the play to make sure that you've always got the best angle for umpiring. This video is intended not only for our umpires that we're bringing on for paid replacements for those families that decide that they want to buy out of their umpire duties, but we're also putting this together for you, the parents, as well, so that you can feel comfortable in umpiring your own duties. A couple basic things that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about proper equipment. We want to make sure that as the plate umpire, we are properly equipped to ensure that we, again, can always put ourselves in the best position to make the best calls possible, and half of umpiring is always about finding angles and putting yourself in the right position. We're going to talk about some of the expectations that we have for our umpires down here, both from a paid umpire perspective as well as some helpful tips that will also help you as a parent, volunteer, chipping in and umpiring down here. And then we'll go into after we talk about some of the basics, we're going to go into a few nuances, some of those tricky calls. Everything happens down here at Isaac Walton that could possibly happen in a baseball game. So a lot of the things that we're going to talk about tonight may not be things that you're going to see in a Major League Baseball game, but you'll certainly see them down here at Isaac Walton. So we want to make sure that we cover all those aspects. And then, of course, we want to make sure that we give everybody the confidence that anybody can come out here, umpire a Little League game, and feel good about it and have contributed in a meaningful way to our youth programs here in Homewood. So let's go over to the umpire room, take a look at some of the equipment, how to put it on, and get you ready to umpire your first baseball game. All right, so this part of the video, we want to just show you where the umpire gear is. Obviously, first thing when you get here down to Isaac Walton, make sure that you know what field that you're going to be on. You're going to either be on Ormsby or Welsh or Nicolau, but once you've identified which field you're going to be on, you need to get the proper gear to be able to umpire home plate. So we're all familiar with the restroom house here at Isaac Walton, so the concession stand is right behind our camera person, but back here on the back side of the restroom, in case you've ever wondered what's inside this room, well, it's time to find out. This is what we call the umpire room down here. There's a lot of things that are kept down here, signage, cleaning supplies, obviously for the restrooms, but for purposes of this video, the most important things that we have in here are your umpire masks. You have your traditional mask, which, you know, this fits great right over the bill of a regular cap. So if you want to wear a baseball cap, these will fit right over the top of it, and I certainly recommend wearing a baseball cap with these. Or you have your kind of newer style hockey masks, if you will. I'm not a big fan of wearing these personally, but I can tell you that they are required for catchers at the IHSA baseball and softball level because they protect the whole head. So, you know, if you're going to be having pitches coming off and they might get foul tipped, you might find yourself, if you think you're a head turner, go ahead and put one of these on here. You protect the side of your head, protect the back of your head. But you know, if you trust your equipment, which you should trust your equipment, stare a ball down with this old traditional mask and you'll also be just fine. The next piece of equipment would be your chest protector. Okay, they've got two things here. There's straps on the back to hold it. You know, I'll always grip it with the two straps here in my left hand because you're going to be using your right hand to call a lot of strikes and call a lot of outs. That's the only thing we're doing with our right hands. And there's also a pocket back here. So you're going to get a couple extra game baseballs. That's what this pocket is for. You don't have to wear a sweatshirt with a pocket or anything in there or worry about stuffing it down in your jeans or your sweatpants or anything like that. Just go ahead and put your baseballs back here in this pocket. And then when you have both of these together, your mask and your chest protector, you know, you'll see, you put it right up there, put it under your chin. This thing is bulletproof, or at least it's baseball proof. As long as you're putting yourself behind this thing, it works great. Better than any of those chest protectors that they even wear at the Major League level. Those things have a chink in the armor. No chink in here. Lastly, you have your shin guard. So obviously you're going to have two of these, one for each shin guard. Out here there should be 3 sets, so one for each field. When you're putting on the shin guards, you're going to want to make sure that you put the buckles on the outside. So when you're putting these on, and I'm wearing shorts today, it's 85 degrees and we're still getting used to the spring here, but you want to make sure you're putting your buckles on the outside. So that way, when you're moving, when you're hustling, because when you're out on the field, you are going to be moving and hustling, you don't want these buckles to be catching on one another. And if they're on the buckles on the inside, then you have a tendency to maybe catch a buckle on another buckle and you'll trip yourself up and then you'll have everybody laughing. So again, I recommend everybody wear pants when you're up, especially when you know you're going to be umpiring the plate. Just helps with the comfort level with the shin guards. Yes, it might be a little warm out, but I think you'll find the pants to be rewarding, at least when you have the shin guards on, better than not. So this is where you find the gear for the umpire, for the plate umpire. Pretty right here behind the restrooms, pretty easy to find. And then when you're done, if you have an 8 o'clock game and the lights are all turning out, just please bring the equipment back here. One other item that we don't have right here that you'll find in the concession stand is the clicker. Make sure you have a clicker. Even if you're doing the bases, please help your plate umpire out by also having a clicker in your hand when you're umpiring the bases. Those can be found in the concession stand. Just ask for the concession stand director. She'll ask you for your driver's license or a cell phone, something that'll ensure that you will make a deposit on the clicker and be sure to come back and return it at the end of the night. Those things are kind of like gold down here for an umpire. So that's your equipment for the umpire. Now let's take it out to the field and find out what the next steps are. Alright, so really one of the first things, you've got your equipment, you've got your mask, you've got your chest protector, your shin guards are buckled up with the buckles on the outside of the legs. Now it's time to actually come out between the fences and start umpiring a game. So, important even for you guys at this point, and I've got a group of guys over here who are here to take in this clinic today. There's really 5 criteria that we want to utilize to evaluate an umpire, and new to Homewood baseball and softball this year is an evaluation system, particularly for our paid umpires. With these evaluations, what's new for this year is each coach has a set of criteria on a pitching log or a score sheet, okay, and this is for our paid umpires. Again, we do not have to fill these out for the volunteer parents. We won't be evaluating volunteer parents, but with these, each coach is going to be filling one of these out for you every time you umpire the plate. Okay, so there's a little bit of reward for being the umpire that's back here behind the dish. Of course, we're going to need base umpires too, and we want you to do a good job out here, but really this evaluation is based on the criteria that we've set for a home plate umpire. And again, even though it's evaluation criteria for our paid umpires, this is really good, just 5 things that you want to make sure that you hit on as any type of umpire in order to ensure that you're going to have a successful game. The criteria for a paid umpire reads, umpire was on time, ensured proper equipment, and held a pre-game meeting. All right? Safety first. As an umpire, as a parent, as a volunteer, as anybody involved with youth, always remember safety first, okay? Safety from a player aspect for boys, make sure they have their sport cups on, all right? Everybody knows what that is. And I'm not asking you to go around and do cup checks, but ask the coaches, remind the coaches, hey coaches, everybody's got a cup on today, right? And the coach needs to affirm, yeah, everybody's got a cup on. If they don't have a cup on, they cannot play. Okay, boys cannot play down here without a cup. We're not going to take that insurance or that injury risk. And again, safety first. We want to make sure that those players that get weird hops out here, even the 5-star players down here, are going to catch a weird hop every once in a while. We want to make sure that they're protected. Also, from another safety perspective specific to baseball, is the BPF 1.15 stamp. All right, no bats are allowed down here, whether they're composite, whether they're pure aluminum or metal, or BB core or anything like that. They must have the 1.15 BPF stamp on there. Lastly, when it comes to baseball bats, no big barrel bats down here. Okay, all bats can be no larger than 2 1/4 barrels. Okay, no 2 5/8, no monster 3-inch barrels, nothing like that. Just a standard 2 1/4 barrel is all we allow down here at Isaac. That's for the girls' side. All the girls must have a caged face mask when they come up to bat. So when you're going through and you get here early, just go through quickly and check out and turn the bats. Even if it's the girls softball, make sure there's no dented or damaged bats. You don't ever want to see a flat side on a bat. So just do a quick, walking through. Hopefully everybody's got their bats in the back rack. Just do a quick spin. Make sure that you see the BPF stamp for the boys. For the girls, make sure that you don't see any batting helmets laying around that don't have a face cage down here, because they're required. The softball girls, though, we highly recommend that the girls for softball do wear the face mask, particularly the pitchers. It may be required for the softball pitchers down here. It's not required for the fielders having a face mask, okay? So if you see a fielder that doesn't have a face mask for softball, don't worry about it. That's their choice. We just highly recommend it here. So make sure, again, safety first. Inspect both dugouts. Again, if you get down here early enough, you should be able to have plenty of time to do that. And then the last portion of that first set of criteria, held pregame meeting. Come out here, engage both coaches, get their names, let them get yours. Besides, it helps if they write your name down on this evaluation sheet. Helps you as paid umpires. Again, parents don't have to, volunteer parents don't have to worry about these pages, but you do need to make sure that you have a pregame meeting. Call both coaches out here, make sure that they've had the lineup, go over a few things, ask them if there's any particular rules, Bantam B, Ripken B, they're gonna have wide different rules. Let the coaches help you with any specialty rules. We want you to know the basics, what's a strike, what's a foul ball, what's out versus safe, but I don't expect you to know, what's the halfway line for a Bantam B base runner. Okay, let the coaches help you out with that. Coaches, assuming you're watching this video, please help out your umpires and make sure that you go over those nuance rules specific to your league. But that's part of what that pregame meeting is for. Lastly, we have, especially here on Nicolau, we have what's called the dome rule, all right? So you want to make sure that both coaches are aware before the game. They should all know in advance, because we've all been down here at Isaac long enough. But the dome rule is, if a ball is popped up here at home plate, and in your judgment, remember I said you're going to hear that word, you're going to hear the word in your judgment a lot, because that's a lot of what umpire is. And coaches, you cannot question judgment calls. So please note that. I cannot stress it enough. It helps continue and keep the sportsmanship on good standing down here. You can't question judgment calls. Balls and strikes, those are judgment calls. Out, safe, that is a judgment call. Your opinion doesn't matter. The umpires does, all right? So, back to the dome rule. In a judgment call, if you feel that ball touches a tree limb in fair territory, over here, kind of down you can't see it on the camera, but down the third base side here at Nicolau, we have some branches that extend well into fair territory here. If, in your judgment as the plate umpire, that ball hits that branch in fair territory, it's a dead ball, no pitch, replay it all, okay? All base runners have to go back to the base that they were. It's not a ball, it's not a strike, it's just a dead ball, no pitch. Even if the infielder catches it off the deflection, doesn't matter, dead ball. If, in your judgment, that ball strikes one of those branches on the foul side, foul territory, then it is a foul ball and it's a strike. All right? So that's one thing, and you see me doing this, we're going to be doing a lot of this. Okay, we'll talk about balls and strike here in a minute, but anything that hits a branch in foul territory is a foul ball. All right, so those are the types of things that you want to make sure that you're covering in your pregame meeting. Make sure that the coaches are aware, and so are you. Some leagues down here do have the infield fly rule. Ripken A, for instance, definitely has an infield fly rule. Go ahead and cover that with coaches in case they're not sure. In case you guys aren't sure, the infield fly rule is runners on first and second or bases loaded with less than 2 outs. All right? Any ball that is popped up within reasonable range of the infield, and here you can pretty much use the apron. The apron is where the dirt meets the outfield grass. You can use that as your boundary, but it's not necessarily have to be. If it's a pop-up, and in your judgment, again, it's a judgment call, that is a routine play that should be made. Don't take into account the right fielder skill level or the second baseman skill level. And by the way, it can be an infield fly rule even if the right fielder comes all the way in to make that play. Okay, it's still an infield fly. It's about the position of the ball. It's about the position of the player. How routine is it? If he's standing under it and it tips off the end of his glove, hopefully he's standing under it and it tips off the end of his glove and falls to the ground, doesn't matter. It's still an infield fly rule. Infield fly rule, runners can advance at their own risk, batter is automatically out. The design of the infield fly rule is to eliminate the force play so that players don't, on the bases, on first and second or even on third, don't have to struggle with that decision of, oh shoot, do I tag up or do I go? Infield fly rule eliminates that. As soon as you call it, and call that ball as fast as you can based on your judgment. Don't wait until it's almost in his glove to call it. Call it as soon as you're comfortable doing it. You want to yell out, and we'll talk about that criteria. Infield fly rule, batter's out. All right, call him out. All right, so again, things you want to discuss in your pregame meeting. The next set of criteria. Umpire maintained a positive attitude towards players and coaches with an enthusiastic approach throughout the game. All right, hey, put yourself back in your shoes when you were an 8-year-old baseball player, softball player. Being down here at Isaac especially was a great time, right? All of us played Little League, maybe not down here at Isaac, but we still had a great time. Approach the game with some enthusiasm. Engage the players. Help coach them a little bit. I mean, you don't want to overrule your coaches, but if you're a plate umpire and you've got a catcher that's sitting way back here, go ahead, push him up, help him out a little bit. The closer he is to that plate, the easier it is for you to call strikes. We want to call a lot of strikes down here at Isaac Walton. We'll get into that here in a little bit, but you want to do everything you can to make calling strikes and calling balls if you have to. You want to make that as easy as possible. So, help the players, help them be positive, pick up a helmet for them, show them good sportsmanship. And then parents, that's a very easy thing for you to do, very actively engaged, and that's one of the great reasons why it's out here. Again, it's not the World Series, but to these guys, it's an important game. Every game's an important game, so show them that you care, how important it is to them. And yes, it's going to be important to the people that are sitting over there. We'll help remind them, and commissioners will help remind them that though the 8-year-olds or the 10-year-olds or the 12-year-olds, it's an important game for them. They need to keep the perspective that this is 10-year-old baseball. Again, no Major League scouts are down here trying to find the next Chris Bryant or the next Jose Abreu at Isaac Walton. That happens over at HF, right guys? All right. So umpire maintained a positive attitude towards players and coaches with enthusiastic approach throughout the game. Have fun. That's what that says in a nutshell. All right, next set of criteria. Umpire made calls audibly and visibly clear and kept play moving between innings and substitutions. All right, it's up to you guys to keep this game moving along. Once that first pitch is thrown, it's in your hands, all right? Coaches will help you out with weather situations, but technically, it's the umpire's call once the game starts, whether or not that game is playable based on weather conditions. Again, down here at Isaac Walton, let the coaches and commissioners help you out. Same with the parents. Don't try to make that call because then you put yourself in a position that you don't want to be in. Go ahead and let the commissioners make that call. But umpire made calls visibly and audibly clear. Right? That's what you want to hear as a pitcher. That's what you want to hear as a catcher. And you always point with the right hand, right? Now, we talked one thing earlier about the equipment, and when we were back in the umpire room, you guys are going to have a clicker. All these straps are pretty tight. Grip this thing with one left hand, all right? And you can even, try to keep a clicker in there, but be careful with your clicker. A good umpire, well, an umpire at the IHSA level, they all have their gear underneath their uniform. It's all strapped on, so they've got two hands free. Your clicker technically should always be in your left hand. Why? Because if you're back here and ball crosses and it's a ball, and then you go to look at your clicker and you do this with your right hand, guess what that coach just saw? He just saw you call a strike, right? Because you used your right hand and it went up. And we actually had that instance happen here last week. So it does happen. It helps to be audibly clear again as well. You can say strike, hey, whatever it is that comes out of your mouth, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that it's clear and it's consistent and then it goes with the right hand. All right? After you do not have to say anything with the ball. So again, call your strikes. Don't worry about saying anything on the ball so you're comfortable. Then once you're comfortable, go ahead and say ball if you feel like it, but it's not required. So call strikes, lots of them. All right, make sure that you're audibly clear. And like I said earlier about selling that call, right? When somebody's out, you know, if it's a routine tag out, he's out. Okay, that's all you gotta do. He's out. That's it. All right. If it's a bang bang play, they just made a triple relay from the power alley out in left field, and your mind is blown that they actually caught the ball twice and threw it 3 times really well, and you got a banger right here at the plate. He's out. Sell it. All right. You're all salesmen. Get involved. The more confidently you sell it, the less these folks are going to want to have anything to say about your opinion, about your judgment. All right. So feel free to have fun out here. All right. All right, now we're moving on to the strike zone. So that last one again, umpire made calls audibly clear and visibly clear and kept play moving between innings. All right, 30 seconds is plenty of time for a mound visit unless he's gonna make the substitution. Okay, make sure they hustle in, hustle out. Don't forget to remind them. And if you've got a team that lollygags out of the dugout, man, they don't get warm-up time then. They can't hustle out to their positions, get that thing moving. The strike zone was consistent for both teams, and I have in here parentheses, as you probably may have guessed, umpires are encouraged in training to call strikes, and lots of them. All right, rule book strike zone, right below the chest line to right above the bottom of the kneecap, over the plate, right? That's a rule book strike zone. Down here at Isaac Walton, we want to do 2 things. We want to encourage batters to swing the bat, and we want to reward pitchers for being around the plate. The game. Big strike zones help create good baseball play. So, again, anybody who ever wants to quote me, I will tell you, the rule book strike zone is bottom of the chest to the bottom of the kneecaps over the plate. Down here at Isaac Walton, I like the diamond effect. Okay, as you can maybe tell, the more over the center of the plate I get, the wider that strike zone gets. Okay, so and the other thing down here at Isaac Walton is you're going to have a kid who's this tall, and the next batter that comes up, he's going to be this tall. Okay, so again, if you in your judgment, if you think that kid could put a big or a good swing on the ball, it's a strike. And you're going to have, like I said, those catchers that sit back here, that ball's going to hop and hit the plate or hit the dirt before it hits their mitt. But for some kids, that's going to be a strike. That's one of those examples where push that kid up on the plate. A good catcher will take up every square inch that the batter will give them, right? You want to be, as a catcher, right on top of that batter. So, you know, again, in your estimation, and as it gets closer to the middle of the strike zone here, that belt level, it starts to widen. All right, if that ball is right here at the belt line, that strike zone is maybe a full baseball on the inside and 2 baseballs on the outside. All right, IHSA, NCAA baseball, you get eviscerated for a strike zone like that. Down here at Isaac Walton, you get applause. All right, people love to see strikes. People like to see you doing this. Your elbow should be hurting so much after the end of the game because you're calling a lot of strikes. On consistency, right? The strike zone needs to be consistent, and it needs to be consistent for both teams. By having a cap on and having it inside your catcher's mask, you're helping set the top of your strike zone by your sight line with your baseball cap. All right, I don't want to wear this too much because it's hard to talk and yell with it. All right, but you want to make sure that no matter how you get back here behind this plate, you're in the same position every time. You want to be what's called the slot. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this, but that slot is that little sight line that you get between, if it's a right-handed batter and a catcher, that slot is in between the batter and the catcher. On a left hand, it's over on this side of the plate, okay? But you want to try to get in that slot as best as you can. If you've got a catcher who they're really trying to put that baseball on the inside part of the plate, and he's taking up every square inch and you can't get a view, then go ahead and move to the outside of the catcher's shoulder. But you always want to try to stay in between the catcher and the batter. What I do when I'm umpiring, and this is a little bit easier when I've got my full gear on and everything, I put my finger right here behind my knee. And as soon as I feel my hamstring start to clamp down on the top of my calf muscle, boom, right there. I'm gonna be in the same position every time. Trust your equipment, okay? Especially if you're gonna wear this traditional mask, which I'm a fan of the traditional mask. Trust it, stare that ball down. Foul tips are gonna happen, but they can't get through this thing as long as you have it tucked under your chin. Okay, I have seen some guys down here, they get into a good position every time, but they drop this down here and all this is exposed. That hurts when a ball hits you right here and you don't have any padding there to protect it. All right, so get your chin on top of this thing and trust the equipment, because this thing is baseball proof. All right, baseballs will not get through this thing. All right, so again, your criteria, and that's why we're only evaluating the paid umpires based on their plate performance, because of that specific criteria. Strike zone was consistent for both teams. Umpires are encouraged in training to call a lot of strikes. All right, lastly, for the plate umpire, and of course this goes with any umpire, whether you're in the bases or not, the criteria reads, umpire hustled and did best to be in position. The question to the coach to help them evaluate, did the umpire actively pursue plays and players to gain the best view? Officiating is made so much easier when you put yourself in the best position to give yourself the best angle for the view. So you're going to be down here, and for your Bantam Bs and your Bantam As and your rookie As and your juniors, you're going to be the only umpire on the field. Juniors, they might pull a parent out to help you out in the field, but you're going to be the only umpire. So you want to make sure that after that ball is put in play, that you're getting out here and getting at least right here. Okay? A really good umpire will get out there even closer to the pitcher's mound. Don't be a statue. Okay? You're getting paid to be here. You didn't pay for a ticket, so don't be standing back here and just watching the action happen. That ball's put in play, get yourself out here. Okay? So move. That's essentially what that play is saying. And as a plate umpires, even if you have a two-man crew, even if it's a ground ball that's going to be a routine play at first, you want to get yourself out here so that you can watch that first baseman's foot, right? We've all been that player that's been running down the first base line and watch that first baseman pull his foot as we're stepping on the bag and we still get called out. A good umpire will put himself in this position so that he can see exactly where that first baseman's foot is. All right, we'll get into the two-man mechanic and how you deal with that with a base umpire here in a second. But get out, move. The best place to make a play at the plate call is right here. Okay, don't find yourself, you're hardly ever, as an umpire, as a plate umpire, going to find yourself over in this position on the field. Okay, because all of your baseball field is over there. At least if you're over here on the third base side, you've got all the field right here on this side. 99.9% of the time is always going to be right here. Now, as a plate umpire, if you're working by yourself, you've got the whole field. You've got both foul lines, you've got every base to watch, you've got players going on everywhere, and all kinds of circus is going to break loose down here at Isaac Walton. We've all been a part of it, we've all seen it. Make sure that you are watching the leading runner. Okay, when you have an option to only watch one runner because they're all hitting the bags at the same time, despite what the coach is saying, despite what Aunt Betty over here thinks, all right, you're watching the lead runner because that's the most important runner. That's the one that you want to make sure it touches every base. Kids are going to miss bases down here. They're afraid to sprain ankles. They're just afraid of the base in general. They're afraid of contact with the other baseball players. Watch that lead runner. All right, with a two-man mechanic, so when you have a partner at Ripken B level, at Ripken A level, your responsibility as a home plate umpire is not just home plate, you have third base too. Reason being, you have the best angle at third base. Okay, even though your partner should be out there just behind the pitcher's mound, you've got the best angle, and especially if you're in a good position and you're at least over here, you've got the best angle to see that runner coming from second into third on a slide to see if that glove got down in front of the base and got the tag down in time. All right, so in a situation where you're going to have a bang play at third and you really want to get in front of it, go ahead and hustle down there. Yell to your base partner, "I've got third, cover home." Again, communicate with them. which I don't know if I've said that yet. So, but communicate with your base partner. But as the home plate umpire, you have responsibility for third and home. And I also down here prefer that the home plate umpire always take the fair foul call. Okay, because you've always got the best angle here. You may be thinking that you're relying on your base umpire, but your base umpire is out in the middle of the field. He's got no view of the line. So just to keep things simple, the home plate umpire should always take fair ball, foul ball down both lines. The other thing that you're going to have down here is swing appeals. Okay, if your partner umpire is in the middle of the field, if you even have a partner, he can't see that swing any better than you can. That is your call as a home plate umpire. And I don't care how many times the coach sitting over on the seed bucket says, get some help, doesn't matter. That is your call. If you do happen to have a right-handed batter and you've got an umpire down there on the first base line and you want to ask him, please do. Ask him with your left hand, by the way, because if you go like this, what just happened? You just called a strike. So make sure you can ask for help if you have a two-man crew. But go ahead and try to make that call back here. And again, if they debate, you do not have to appeal. And if they want you to appeal, even though your base umpire's out there, say, Coach, he can't see that any better than I can. All right. So what else behind the home plate? I think that about covers it. So now we're going to go over and we're going to talk about how to do good base umpiring. All right. All right. So now we're going to talk about base umpiring. When there's nobody on base, go ahead and stand over here in the foul territory area. Okay. Once that ball is put into play, even if it's a ground ball, go ahead and get yourself hustled out here so that this is going to give you the best angle no matter where that throw's coming from. You've got to see three things. You've got to see the foot hit the bag, you got to see the catcher or the first baseman catch it, and then you have to see which one happened first, right? So make sure that you're getting in the best position. Again, you don't have the best look at the first baseman's foot from over here. If it's obvious that his foot was on the bag, yes, you're going to see it. If it's not obvious and maybe there was a little bit of daylight, that's where you can ask your home plate umpire who's in good position over there, hey, did he hold the bag? Did he hold the bag? He's out. All right? And when in doubt, especially at first base, when in doubt, call him out. All right? There's no such thing as tie goes to the runner. All right? So now if there's a ball, let's say it's a gap shot hit for a double and there's no one on base, you want to go ahead and hustle out here, watch your base runner, because you're going to watch him round second, and you want to make sure that you're watching that he hit second, because your home plate umpire, if there's no other base runners on, is going to be watching the ball so that he can track and anticipate where the play is. All right? But you want to bring yourself and you want to hustle. There's no reason why you can't get from there to over here. If you're a parent and you're not so mobile, I completely understand, and if you want to go ahead and take an outside the infield route, that's perfectly fine. But for our young paid umpires, we want to see you hustling, we want to see you moving. Get yourself inside the infield before that base runner gets to first, because you may have to get down here to see what's happening down at second base. All right, so again, hustling and getting in good position. Now, when there is a base runner on base, especially again for my young paid umpires here, this is where you want to be. Okay, I don't want to see anybody umpiring from center field. Again, if you're a volunteer parent and you're not comfortable about here being in the middle of the infield, that's fine. Go ahead and take a position out behind second base. Again, knowing that your home plate umpire has home and third, you're pretty dedicated to first and second. All right? So do you want to take your position in here, regardless of where the base runners, if there's base runners on first, second, first only, or first, second, and third, stay right here. Stay on the first base side of the pitching mound. You're going to have a little less conflict with your better players who are probably going to be playing the shortstop position. Again, your responsibilities are first and second, so it puts you closer to first base to make that call. But stay on that first base side of the pitcher's mound. Now, if there is let's say there's a chance that there's a home run shot being hit, okay, and there will be some home runs down here, particularly at the Ripken levels, the base umpire needs to get his butt out there to watch that ball go over the fence, okay? that means getting out there just past the apron, which again, the apron is where the outfield grass meets the infield. But get yourself out there so you're in a good position. That dome rule that we talked about earlier does not apply on the home run fence. Out there, if a ball hits a branch, in your judgment as the base umpire, that branch prevented that ball from exiting the field over the home run fence, circle them up. We love home runs down at Isaac Walton. Give them the benefit of the doubt, let them touch them all, let the kids come out of the dugout, slap them on top of the head, and then everybody gets to go back in and the next batter comes up. But if it knocks it down, or if a player catches it off the branch, that's a live ball, it's still a catch. All right? So, ball touches branch, you think it impacted it from going out, call it a home run. Ball hits a branch and you don't think it was going to get there, maybe it was a high shot and got caught up in the wind and was coming straight down, they can play it off the branch. It is a live ball. Pretty much out here for a base umpire, that's about it. If again, your plate umpire should always be watching the lead runner. Your job, if there is a routine ball, if there's a gap shot, a line drive hit out to the right center field, your job as the base umpire is not to watch the ball. However many throws it takes Tommy and Jeff to get that ball thrown in from the outfield, doesn't matter. That comedy of errors is not yours to watch. Your job is to watch that leading runner behind the other leading runner. Okay, so you always want to have that second runner, making sure that they're touching the base, that they're not doing anything. So now for some of the wacky stuff that you're going to see down here. You're going to see obstruction. Okay, in case anybody isn't sure what obstruction is when the fielder gets in the way of the base runner. And actually more times than not, your call is going to be runner's interference, okay? But obstruction is if that fielder is not making a clean play on the ball, meaning that ball's not on its way to him, or it's a ground ball or a line drive or a throw or whatever it is, if he's not making a direct play on the baseball, in your judgment, again, it's a judgment call, you have what's called obstruction. It's a delayed call. Stick a hand out, so that's your reminder that you have a potential obstruction call, and let the play finish. Okay, let the play come to its natural conclusion. If, in your judgment, you feel that there was obstruction, again, a fielder got in the way of the base runner, and that fielder had no right to be where they were, okay, then after the play has come to its natural conclusion, you get to move, in your judgment as an umpire, move up all the base runners, how many bases you felt they would have achieved had that obstruction not happened, okay? And it's only going to be that one base runner that was obstructed, okay? It's not every base runner, it's just the base runner that was affected by the play, okay? If he gets obstructed as he's going into second base, but Tommy is a statue over on third base and wasn't going anywhere, that obstruction doesn't matter, okay? Go ahead and put the fist down, no call. If a coach says, well, he stood in his way, you just simply say, Coach, the runner in front of him wasn't going anywhere, so neither was he. It's a judgment call. The other instance that you're going to have is runner's interference, okay? The infielders in particular, they have a right to make a play on the baseball, even if it means that they're in the middle of the baseline, okay? So even as you guys, as defenders, as infielders yourselves, you have every right to be where you need to be to make a play on that baseball, and don't let anybody ever tell you differently, okay? And if Tommy was running from first to second and he bulls over the second baseman who is sitting there, and maybe he slaps the leather once and then he's getting ready to make a play on the ball, and then he gets taken out by the base runner, okay? The base runner is out, all right? And then everybody else gets their base after that, okay? So you're going to call the base runner out for the obstruction. Other tricky thing that happens is foul balls. And I know foul balls seem like they would be a no-brainer, but if a ball is hit in the air and travels in the air past first base and then lands on that side of the foul line, it's a foul ball, right? That's the obvious one, all right? But let's say somebody smashes a ground ball and let's say it's a two-hopper, all right? It takes one hop there, takes another hop here, and then as it goes past the bag, if in your judgment, and this is the home plate umpire's judgment more times than not, he can get some help from his first base umpire if his first base umpire is still over here. But in your judgment, if that ball traveled in the air over the fair base side of the bag, it's a fair ball. And a fair ball, don't say anything, you just point towards the middle of the field. Okay, if it's a foul ball, let everybody know. Let the people over on Ormsby Field know. Foul ball! All right? So in the instance though, where it's a line drive smash, curves around the fair base side, but lands in foul territory the first time it touches the ground, foul ball. Ground ball smash, hits on the fair side, it crosses the bag and then lands in foul territory. It's where you think that ball crossed the bag. Was it fair or foul when it got to the bag? Okay, and that would determine whether it's a fair ball or not. So I think that's just about all the basics of umpiring 101. All right, so come out here, have fun. Parents, come out here, have fun, and umpire with confidence. If you guys have any questions, again, my name is Jim Collins. I'm the umpire director on the board of directors. My phone number is plastered all over the website. All right, thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for watching, and have a great season.